Hello everybody, this is Crocodile again. Today I kind of want to make a shorter video because I don't want to be rambling on for a long time because I know not a lot of people will just listen to that. So today I want to keep this nice and short. Why does time move forward, and why is it actually completely impossible for us to go back in time? We see all these movies where people go back in time and they see their former selves. And sometimes the things that they do to themselves or to other people affect the future. Is this completely science fiction? Is it completely fanciful? Yes, it is. And there are two concepts that completely obliterate any idea of going back in time. The first one is entropy. Entropy is kind of a complicated topic. It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around if you haven't heard it before. So I'll just say it simply. Entropy is the increase in disorder. So if you have a bunch of atoms, if you have a bunch of gases, let's say, we have two gases, and we separate them, we have them in a big box and we separate them down the middle so they cannot combine with each other, they will obviously stay separated, but as soon as we take the wall away, they will combine. Why will they combine? Because they are moving towards a higher disorder, which promotes a lower energy state, which is ultimately what all matter wants to move to, a lower energy state. So all matter moves to entropy. There are obviously some things that stop it, like, for instance, lack of energy. If we take a block of ice, for instance, right? Water, H2O, is definitely not usually found in its solid state. It's most preferred in its liquid or even gaseous state. I would say mostly liquid state. But why is it staying in a solid state? Obviously, the entropy, the disorder would move up if the water can move around, because that promotes higher disorder, higher mixing, more spreading out, etc. So why is it staying as a solid? Well, because there's a lack of energy. Again, something being cold means that the heat has been sucked out of it, and it's continuing to be sucked out of it. By adding heat to that, you're adding energy to the system. So if we have a block of ice right here, and I have a little candle, right? And I put the candle under the ice. Eventually the ice is going to start to melt. It's going to start to drip. Why? Because we're adding energy to that system. It's promoting entropy, which is making the water change the state from a solid to a liquid. And if we keep adding heat, more heat, the water is going to turn to water vapor, and it's going to become gaseous. And this promotes even greater entropy because the water now can move all over. It doesn't have any fixed volume anymore. So entropy. Everything is moving towards entropy. And I want to make another video in the future discussing life, because basically what life is, if I can define life as simply as I can, life is something that goes against entropy. And that's it. Life is something that fights against entropy. If we take an example, like our bodies, right? I can't give a very specific example, but just in general, our bodies are moving towards a lower, higher entropy state, lower energy state. But the mechanisms in our cells keep our body moving, keep rejuvenating our body. And when these mechanisms start to break down, when they start to become weaker, that's when we grow older and eventually die, because our body is moving towards a higher entropy state, more disorder, which means no life. So everything is moving towards entropy. Now, why does this affect the flow of time? Well, simply put, time, I think, is a human construct to kind of make sense of the flow of events that happen. But time is basically the flow of entropy increasing. And the key thing to note here is that if we take that example, right, with the gases, we cut the wall dividing the gases and we mix them, there's no possible way that we can go back in entropy state. We can't go back to a more ordered state from a really entropy favored state like the mixing of gases. And this fundamentally just dissolved any possible link we have to go back in time. Another thing is the storage of information, which kind of ties into this, right? So even if somehow we could go to that entropy, less entropy state, that more ordered state of the gases, if we could somehow separate every single atom of the gases and make them two separate gases and redivide them in the box, we would not have any information as to where the particles were before. Therefore, we can never, ever, ever go back in time because we have no storage of information of what has happened in the past. We have no storage information. If we take, for example, how the world was in 1911, right? If we let's say that I want to go back to 1911 today. Well, in order to do that, I would have to have knowledge of every atom in the universe's position at that exact point in time that has passed. Is this possible? Technically it is, because it's a finite number of atoms. It is an astronomically large number of states. It is so large that I think even writing the number in exponential form, which would be like, for instance, 10 to the 2 power, it wouldn't even fit on the screen. It would take maybe like a couple years just to see the exponential number fly across the screen. So it is obviously very close to infinity, but it is not infinity. So it is possible. How will we store that information? No one knows, but that is the only way we would be able to go back in time, because we're assuming that the past has been recorded. As far as we're concerned, as far as I'm concerned, in this moment, the past never happened. The only thing that's happening is right now, which is the present moment that I'm experiencing, constantly going into the past. The words I'm saying are constantly being escorted into the past. So we can never go back there. I can never go back to the point in time in which I was making this video, because the atoms in the universe, not even just on Earth, but in the universe, would never align. And we have no information as to their positions in space and their compositions at that time. So these two ideas, entropy, the fact that entropy is always increasing because matter is always trying to be more disordered. Again, it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around, but think of the gases. Think of if we have a big glass box, we have two gases, separate gases. Let's take like nitrogen gas and oxygen gas, right? We have them separated completely by a wall. If we break that wall, what are they going to do? They're going to start mixing because of entropy. Because mixing promotes higher entropy, which means more disorder, which means more moving around, more space. Case in point, atoms don't want to be, they're like grumpy teenagers, right? They're like, I don't want to be confined. I want to have freedom. I want to go wherever I want. I don't want to have a curfew. You know what I mean? They don't want to be confined. They would have as much entropy as they possibly can, which is why gaseous water vapor has more entropy than solid ice, and even greater than liquid water, because it has more space to move. Again, liquid doesn't have a fixed shape, but it does have fixed volume, which means there's only so many positions in which the atoms can arrange themselves in water, and it's incredibly less than in a gaseous state. So that's the first thing. Again, just to recap, entropy, that was entropy. And the second is the storage of information, because even if we could somehow reverse entropy, which is impossible, I would say, we would not have any knowledge as to where to reverse it to. And that's just how it is. We would have to reverse every single atom in the universe to the point in time in which we're trying to go back. I would have to reverse every single atom in the universe, in the observable universe, to match the exact point in time of 1911. And even that wouldn't guarantee that things would flow the exact same way. But anyway, this was just I tried to keep the video a bit short, a little video explaining why we cannot go back in time. We can't. The words are important. Back in time. There's no saying that we can't go forward in time. I've watched a few videos on that, explaining about the speed of light, and if you reach the speed of light, then things slow down and all that stuff. Maybe I'll make a video on that in the future. I'm never really qualified to talk about this stuff, but I haven't really done as much research on that specific topic, so I'm going to just stick to going back in time. So it is impossible. I'm sorry. We can never go back to 1911 because 1911 doesn't exist. It is a memory. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.